Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Uh, if you can please let me know in the message box if you can hear me clearly. Hello, Diane. Hello, Gina. Hi, everybody. Okay, so everybody can hear me loud and clear? Perfect. Hi, everyone. Alla, Kelly, welcome, everyone. I'm glad everybody can make it to this infection control class. I know a lot of you were really needing to do this and really wanted to get that certificate up on in your profession, so that we want to give ease to our clients so that they can come back and know that we're looking out for their safety as well. So I'm happy we can do this training. Perfect. Everyone can hear me. We have another minute, so I'm just going to wait until we have a couple more attendees. So perfect. Diana, welcome. I remember a lot of these names. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope good weather if you're having. Here it's raining a lot, but the rain is good for the garden, as I did some gardening, so I'm happy for some rain. But I hope everyone else is doing well. And for those who have reopened, I hope everything is going well as well. And for those that are going to reopen, I hope you have what you needed to know from past webinars to prepare to open. So hopefully a lot of our webinars have helped. Hello, Louise, Sandra, Caroline. Lots. We've got a good attendance today for this class. Yeah, Guyans, I'm not quite sure which distributor you're ordering from, but it's hard for PREEMPT because it's being shared. The Virox is sharing the manufacturer with hospitals. So it's hard even for us to get all the complete orders that we order to be able to complete our distributor orders. So it's a little hard, but be patient with us. I know that these products are needed for you when you reopen. They will get to you in time soon. It's just a little bit back orders. Yeah. So for me, no, because I'm going to be sharing a complete screen of the educational manual on here. So it is 101 now. So I do want to start. I believe we have the majority of the attendees here. As long as you can hear me, the certificate will come after the presentation. I will get a database that says who attended, how long they attended for. You need to be completely attended into this. It's about an hour or so, and then we have questions at the end. So it's important information. If you can remain for the whole hour, then you'll be able to receive your certificate. Okay. So I want to start off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be sharing the screen, and I'm going to be putting up a presentation. And I'd like everybody to let me know that they are able to see this presentation up. So I popped something up. I'm going to have to stop sharing it so I can go back to the questions because I cannot see the chat box. So I'm going to go back to the chat box and see if you were able to see what I just shared. So let's go back to the chat box. So everybody was able to see that? Just want to make sure that I'm doing it properly and you guys can see it. Perfect. Everybody's saying yes. Now you can't see it because I took it off so that I can be able to see your comments. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put it back on so that we can start doing our presentation. Okay. Now, sorry, excuse me for a second. In the meantime, I'm not going to be able to see your questions. So if possible, can you save your questions for the end so that I can be able to answer them all? Okay. Perfect. Hey, Arvella, welcome. I'm glad you made it. Okay. I know I took it off now. I'm going to put it back on right now. Okay. Give me 1 second. Perfect. So you should be able to see this again. Okay, so infection prevention and control in professional beauty. So we're going to talk about, it's going to help. I will have some hairstylists in here as well, So in this training, so I'll try to cater it for both and how you can use preempt, but also we're going to go a little bit through some basic infection control, understanding the terminologies, understanding the different levels of disinfectants out there, what area are you using these, some of the bacteria that, or pathogens that we come across in our industry. This basic infection control is needed for you to better understand what you're coming in contact with at work in your salon and spa. Okay. So when we go to the slide here, this is going to be our table of contents, what we're going to be discussing. So infection prevention control regulations, very briefly, because the regulations are provincial, are governmental, they're regional, there's too many. It is your duty to check your provincial guidelines as well to see what will the new guidelines be. So far, I haven't seen any updates, but some regional guidelines might have some sort of updates for you. Then you have your microbes responsible for spa and salon infections. How pathogens spread, very important. Introduction to disinfection, so the different types of disinfections out there. Selection of an ideal disinfectant. How do you decide what disinfectant is ideal for me to use? How do you review the professional ones with the household ones and know that you should be using professional types of disinfectants instead of household items? Then you have reviewing disinfecting chemistries, and then introduction to the PREEMPT family. So we're going to break it down on each product, where to use it, and then how to use it. Okay. So we started off, don't worry about that. That's when I do with the students, we have a quiz. So what we're going to talk about here, very brief definition of infection prevention control. What is it? It's practices designed to reduce the risk of infection and ensure a safe and healthy work environment. This work environment needs to be safe for yourself. You got to include yourself, then your staff and your clients. Okay. So you have a big responsibility there to make sure that your environment is risk-free. Okay. Especially with what we're dealing right now with the COVID virus. Then we go into these provincial and local guidelines. And this is what I was talking about, that every province has written guidelines in relation to infection control measures. And I'm sure you know, if you've read them before, and that's how you know that, okay, for my manicure and pedicure tools, I have to use a high level disinfectant. Or for my hairstyling stylist tools, they're not deemed critical, so, or semi-critical, they're non-critical, so I have to use a intermediate level disinfectant. So your guidelines explain this to you. So review these. Like I said, I haven't seen new updated yet, but they will be for sure getting new guidelines up there for all of you to know. It would have been nice to have these before we reopened, but any guidelines is helpful enough. And doing our education as well, this is helping you as well to keep up to date, because our education, we follow what the guidelines say as well. Okay. Then we're talking about what local health authorities, what are they saying? So these are the ones I'm talking about that are more regional. So for example, if you're in the York region, you have this beautiful tool from York region called the Be Spa Safe, where our friendly reminders and a nice beautiful illustrations on what tools are single use, what tools are reprocessed. This is very important because I know you need to get into your mind that there's no cutting corners to infection control. There's no more, how am I going to save money or this or that? You can't be reusing tools or supplies that are single use. You can't be doing that any longer, especially with what we're going through right now. If a customer sees you, a lot of our a lot of the public is going to be informed and is going to be coming back to you in your salon with these strict expectations from you that they're going to want. So if they see you practicing improper methods, they can report you, and then you will have a surprise visit from a health inspector, and you don't want that bad publicity. So anything you're doing in the past that might have been cutting edges or cutting corners, stop that and think smartly now, because this is your business. We know that the economy has suffered due to this COVID, this time of isolation. We couldn't go. You couldn't get your clients coming in. So the businesses have suffered quite a bit. So now we have to do what is right to get our businesses going and not to have any infractions or anything happen to our business. Okay, so this is something nice that the York region has put into place. And then we have our Toronto Public Health that has put these body safe inspection program. I really love this idea because it's like your restaurants. It lets you know that you're going into a clean and healthy salon or spa. If you see a yellow pass in there, you know your clients will know that the manicures were shut down because there was some kind of infraction, but the rest of the services passed. If they see a red sign, that's devastating to your business because it gets posted to a website that you were shut down and what your infractions were, and it stays there forever. Okay, so these are a lot of things that our regional health inspectors are doing. And as I mentioned, if a client is not happy with any of your practices that you're making because they're not up to date with the new standards or the new norm, they can go on and complain to this website, okay, and even ask for an inspector to go visit you. So now we're going to go into what microbes are responsible for spa and salon infections, which is very important for us to know. We already knew most likely, but here's a reminder. So we come into contact with bacteria every single day at work, and these are unicellular organisms that are invisible to the naked eye, but they replicate quickly. In my old presentation, I would mention there was a little statistic of how many billions of bacteria from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. when you finish, how many can replicate so quickly if improper disinfection is taken, or if you're not cleaning and disinfecting your surfaces. They replicate extremely fast, and some bacteria can form spores. Spores, they survive for months, and they are resistant life forms. That's why when we say when you need to be able to kill spores, you have to use a chemosterilant, either it be a cold soak, like your CS20, or your autoclave with dry heat or dry pressure and in steri pouches. So we don't want it to reach to being a spore because if it's resistant, the disinfectant won't be able to kill it. Or break it down and then kill it. So some of these diseases we know are skin infections like your staph infections and then your mycobacterium, your TB. Okay. Then we go to fungi. This we've dealt it as a nail tech or as an esthetician, for their pedicures. They are simple organisms that cannot make their own food. So if they cannot make their own food, what happens is that they parasitize other tissues. So they'll start feeding off of tissues, which include that of the human body in order for them to survive. So, and we have the example of your athlete's foot or your nail fungus. Okay. So very important that you should be washing your tools with soap and water first to knock down those bits or those bacterias or that fungi, and then be able to dry it and put it in your disinfectant. Okay, very, very important for that cleaning phase, and your foot baths as well. Viruses, what we're dealing with right now. So these are parasites that can grow and reproduce inside the cells of human. So they can be enveloped or non-enveloped. If they are non-enveloped, they are harder to kill. If they are enveloped, they have a coating around them, like a shell. That shell gets broken easily with your disinfectant. So our coronaviruses are enveloped viruses. So that is why you can use an approved Health Canada approved disinfectant that has the DIN number or the medical device license number that says that it's approved that it can kill this type of the coronaviruses. So for us, for PREEMPT, RTU has that claim and has been approved by Health Canada and can break down the and kill the coronaviruses, can fight against the coronaviruses, okay, because they are enveloped. So some of these disease-causing viruses, we have the examples there. You have your influenza, your rhinovirus, and then your blood-borne viruses such as HIV and hepatitis. And then we go to this little chart here that once again reinforms you or lets you know what are hardest to kill to easiest to kill to hardest to kill pathogens, and then you have at the bottom, as you can see, as we mentioned, your enveloped viruses are what are easier to kill. Okay, and then it goes up to your bacterial spores that are so resistant, it makes it really hard for a simple disinfectant to kill. Okay, so it's a really nice chart. What is biofilm? I'll be really briefly with this, as in a lot of salons might not have circulating foot baths. If you have circulating foot baths, that means you have an extra plumbing in your piping, right? You have your plumbing to drain the water, but you also have extra pipes that will circulate the water back and forth all around to come back out and bubble into your and produce that spa whirlpool kind of thing in your foot bath. What's happening is that people are not cleaning and disinfecting after each client and are not allowing the water to bubble, like to turn it on, the jets, so that the water with the solution, the disinfectant, can get into these pipes and break the biofilm. The biofilm is a layer of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms. So you're doing your pedicures, you have the oils, you have the nail clippings, you have that bacteria. These and biofilm, an easier example for you to know is live slime. So if you see the slime on the rocks by the lake, or if you see on your dog bowl that slime effect, or in your vases or in your toilet bowl, that is biofilm. And it can become really resistant if you let it build up in your pipes, because it's like magnets. They just attach and attach. So whatever you let in that foot bath circulate attaches and attaches. It becomes so massive in there that it will become very hard to break it down with a disinfectant, where it's better to toss away that chair and buy the new chairs that are non-circulating foot bath. So if you do have any of these foot baths, I know that they have discontinued making them, but if you do have some, make sure that you are cleaning and disinfecting after every single client and allowing the water to have that contact time where you turn on the jets and the water with the disinfectants going into the pipes and breaking it down. So how do pathogens spread in spas and salons? Well, we got these four areas. First is your tools, your aesthetic tools, as well as your hair tools. Then you have your non-circulating foot baths. Then you have your circulating foot baths. And then you have your surfaces. So this is in your spa and salon setting where you're going to be able, you'll need to focus very seriously. And now with your surfaces, there's much more that you're going to have to take into account. Before, we were always thinking, okay, the surfaces of our manicure tables, our massage beds. Now you got to think of every high touch area, all your stylist chairs, all your counters, all your treatment rooms, all your washrooms, your garbage bins, your water dispensers, anything that you have. That is why they're saying now the less you have, the better, as in get rid of your magazines on the clutter of the tables. So maybe close down your what do you call it? Like your break room. Don't let any everybody be in there eating at the same time. Areas your reception desk, your POS, your point of purchase, your debit machine, all these, your screens, your mouse, your computer, your keyboards, everything, your retail area, all these areas are going to be taken into consideration now that you will have to be cleaning and disinfecting several times per, like every 1 or 2 hours. You're going to have to try and go back to that area and re-clean it and disinfect it, your doorknobs, your light switches. Okay, so it's going to be a lot more work and time. So as you stagger those appointments, factor in that timing of leaving for you to clean and disinfect properly. No rush, because your contact time cannot be rushed. Okay, so for your surfaces, we know it's 3 minutes. If you're using PREEMPT RTU, you can't rush that 3 minutes. If you spray and wipe right away, you have done nothing. And you allow that bacteria, as we mentioned, to build up and duplicate and replicate easily. Okay. The spread of pathogens. Pathogens spread through direct person-to-person contact, mucous membranes, which is your eyes and your mouth, and then breaks into the skin. So in the salon and spa, how to prevent the spread of pathogens? Well, by cleaning and disinfecting your surfaces, as we mentioned earlier. It gives you just these two examples. There's much more. You might even make a list of different of your areas. Make a checklist, put it up. Have maybe one person that you assign as an infection control specialist that has to go around and make sure that these surfaces are being cleaned and disinfected, that the solutions are being changed, that they're being tested to make sure that your 14-day reuse solutions, such as your HLD5 and your CS20, is being changed after 14 days, or it hasn't been so diluted because they put in dirty tools or they put in water because the tools were wet, that it no longer has its efficacy to kill your viruses, your viruses, your fungicide, your tuberculoside, virucidal, bactericidal. Okay, so maybe that might be something you might have to implement in your salon or spa. Cleaning and disinfecting high level or sterilizing tools, properly cleaning linens and towels. So after, doing an infection control webinar on the new norm and stuff, when you're cleaning your linens and your towels, they say you cannot let it be no damp whatsoever, no traces of damp. On a high heat in your dryer, you need to dry all your towels or your linens, and they have to be hot to the touch, no dampness, because then you haven't been able to kill whatever you need to be killing on there. Okay, so very important for that as well, and cleaning them right away, not letting them linger around for long in your laundry room. Okay. Discarding one-time use disposable tools. We mentioned that earlier, how important it is to not reuse your single-use items. Do not even think, I know I get a lot of emails of people saying, and before this whole pandemic hit, I already taught people not to do this, creating little personal bags where you put the nail file and you put the buffer in there. No, you cannot be doing that either. Even certain health inspectors, when they come to you, they will not approve that. It is by Health Canada mandatory that all single-use items after use of one client gets thrown away. Okay, so take that habit away if you were already doing that and making these bags that were personal bags for your clients, and when they come back, you bring them out and use them on them again. It's not allowed. Washing hands frequently and correctly, very, very important. We've been constantly reminded how to wash our hands through this whole pandemic and how long we should wash them in soap and water. If you have if you have soap and water accessible, that is the best vaccine right now. Okay, and don't replace soap and water with your hand sanitizer. That's in between the time there to have it around all your sections of your salon for a buffer, but your hands should be, especially when they've been soiled, or if you've done something with them and they have they've been soiled with whatever you've been doing or touched, and you don't want to cross contaminate as well. Wash your hands with soap and water, but also before putting on new gloves. And gloves as well should not be replacing hand washing. I know a lot of people, when they put gloves on, they don't bother washing their hands. That is not the case. You must wash your hands. After you remove your glove, after each client, you will go put new ones. Wash your hands with soap and water before you put new ones. Now, because there's going to be a lot of washing and a lot of hand sanitizing, have accessible as well hand moisturizer around there too to use, because we will compromise our hands as well from so much washing. Perform proper client consultation. A lot of people don't take the time to do this. Even if you're doing pedicures, manicures, waxing, facials, anything, you should be doing a client consent form. You shouldn't be inspecting to see that you're working on proper skin, nothing broken or contaminated. And this way too, you get to know your client's history with medical history, if they're taking any medication as well, so that you know who you're working on as well, but how important it is for you to have a clean environment, clean and disinfected environment for your clients that have a compromised immune system. Wearing gloves when necessary. Okay, so we go into hand hygiene. I've already touched on it, but hand hygiene is the single most effective way to prevent the spread of communicable diseases and infections. So hand hygiene is required before and after contact with the client, contact with the client's bodily fluids or blood, and contact with contaminated items. And this little image here, I actually, when I started teaching infection control many years ago, I took this image and in my head, and I went home and I washed my hands with soap and water, and I actually saw exactly the same spots and mentions there that I was missing too. The thumb was a big deal for me. I kept on sticking it out when I was washing my hands. So having maybe signs, hand washing signs with images like this up in your bathroom can make the point across as well how important hand hygiene is in all our time, not just now because of the pandemic, but most importantly now because of the pandemic. Okay, and here we go. If your hand hygiene, what should I use? We know soap and water. I would make that top priority, and then your 70 base alcohol. 70% alcohol-based hand rubs, okay? Especially if your hands are not soiled, at all. You're just doing it in between time just to make sure that they're nice and sanitized. It's fine to use your hand sanitizers. Now we go into introduction to disinfection. What is a disinfectant? Simple definition, once again, a product that is capable of destroying the following: bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other pathogens. So, and in this slide here is the safety words, understanding them and not getting them mixed up, because till this day too, I can hear sometimes people saying, well, I'm going to go sanitize my tools, when the important thing is I'm going to disinfect or sterilize them after I've cleaned them. So we know that cleaning, this removes dirt and debris because it's preparing it for disinfection. So when you take your surface and you wipe it down first, you clean it first, you're preparing the disinfectant to be able to work appropriately during that contact time. There's nothing in there that's heavily soiled that's going to interfere. Same with your tools. You have to knock all those bits off, all those debris, all those nail clippings, all those skin from your cuticles that are in the little nippers. You got to knock these off before you put them in your disinfectant, because first of all, you're going to inactivate your disinfectant if all these debris are sitting and resting and falling into your disinfectant. And then you will be also, first of all, wasting money because your disinfectant or your sterilant will be lasting the 14 days and you have to remove it, or you're unknowingly not going to realize that it's not working properly. And up to the 14 days, you've been putting it in there, but it's been doing nothing because has weakened or stopped working. And then you can contaminate your client. So cleaning is a very important step before disinfecting. Sanitizing, we know that this reduces the number of bacteria on a surface, but it's only to a certain limit. So that is why it's not the same as disinfection, because when you look at disinfection, it kills the pathogens listed on the product label, which sanitizing is not able to do. So, so efficacy against your bacteria, your fungi, and your viruses. Okay. So whatever the label will say, if it has efficacy on these, your disinfectants will do that. And we'll go through a slide that shows what your label should, as an a DIN number and a medical device license number. If these are not on there, it's time to think about getting a new disinfectant. Okay, so we'll go through that. Sterilization, we know that this destroys or eliminates all forms of microbial life, and this is through either steam, pressure, or dry heat. Okay, and sterilization, if you're going to use autoclaves, they are recommended to use because they are the best form of killing everything on reprocessing tools. But once again, if you're not using it appropriately, if you're not doing spore testings, you have to do testings every so often on your autoclave. They cost a lot, beginning to buy them. So there's a lot to know when using an autoclave. So if you're thinking of one, do your research, do your get your knowledge of what you have to do when it comes to spore testings, what steri pouches. A lot of autoclaves need you to put them in a steri pouch first. They have to be enveloped before you put them in the autoclave. So, but the method is nice because think of it when you go to your dentist. All those tools are reprocessed. They're using the same mouth that has drawn blood. So if they didn't use an autoclave, would you want that tool in your mouth? No, but then they also open it with a steri pouch right in front of you when they're about to use that tool. So there's not been any cross-contamination before it enters into your mouth. Same would be with your tools for your clients when you're doing the pedicures, manicures, or comedone extractions. Okay. Low-level disinfection. We're going into disinfections now. So for non-critical equipment, devices, or environmental surfaces, this is where you would use low level. They do not kill mycobacteria or bacterial spores, hence because it's a low level. So its efficacy is against most bacteria, vegetative bacteria, and only on, some viruses and fungi. And it has to be used on non-critical equipment and surfaces. When we say non-critical, it's instruments that touch intact skin, so skin that hasn't been opened. Example are countertops, doorknobs, light switches, etc. But the same type of surfaces goes into our intermediate level as well. I would use our intermediate level RTU to do your doorknobs and your light switches and stuff like that. But your intermediate level disinfectant is for non-critical equipment and environmental surfaces. And equipment devices must be thoroughly cleaned prior to intermediate level disinfectant. So its efficacy is against vegetative bacteria, most viruses and fungi, but not spores, because as we mentioned, spores will be your sterilization. Non-critical equipment and surfaces, instruments that touch intact skin and do not penetrate the skin or mucous membrane or surfaces contaminated with blood bodily fluids. So remember that's when you can use an intermediate level. So your intermediate level will be your RTU, where you're going to use on all your surfaces that are going to be high touch areas, your reception, your retail, your waiting room, your stations, your treatment rooms. Okay, so this is where it falls into for your surfaces and your non-circulating foot baths. High-level disinfection, we know this is strictly for our tools. You wouldn't want to be using any high-level disinfection or sterilant on your surfaces, or else that high potency will ruin your material. So for semi-critical equipment and devices must be thoroughly cleaned prior to high-level disinfection. So we know that your tools have to be cleaned with soap and water, whatever choice of detergent you're using, making sure that you rinse it properly, because the soap can be an activator to your disinfectant as well. Its efficacy, high-level disinfectant process destroys vegetative bacteria, mycobacteria, fungi, viruses, and bacterial spores, but that would require, for example, if you're using CS20, you'd have to leave it in there for over 6 hours, and that could compromise your tool for leaving it that long, hence why it's better to use your CS20 for the 20 minutes only. Okay, semi-critical items, reusable instruments that do not penetrate the skin, but can come in contact with non-intact skin. That means open skin or mucous membrane. Sometimes even with our pedicures or manicures, we can nip the customer and draw blood, and now their skin is not intact. Example of some of these tools are nail clippers, pushers, cuticle nippers, lash tweezers, and so forth. And those will be under high-level disinfection, clean before, and then put into your disinfectant. Here's a little part of that book that I had showed you at the beginning from York Region on a 2-page section that talks about what items are not single-use items, so you cannot be reused, and what are reused and reprocessed and have to be cleaned, disinfected, or sterilized between each client. Very useful tool for a reminder for us that we can't be reusing emery boards, nail buffers, even those sanding bags. I've seen how many times they've been used for so many customers. Sanding bands, how many times they've been reused to the point where they look white because they've been so reused, but they're still reusing it on every single customer. That is not advisable, okay? And then we go to sterilization, where we know its efficacy is against all forms of microbes and all, so we know it's going to kill everything. So it's required for reusable critical items, but we know our aesthetics are semi-critical, but we will come in contact with non-intact skin, so open skin, where we have to go to sterilization. So it's achieved by autoclave, dry heat, liquid, and chemical sterilants. And then once again, it says critical items, so instruments that enter or penetrate the skin. And that is an example of an autoclave. That is an example of your steri pouches. Another way you can use steri pouches as well, which I do, is after I've used my cold soak, which is my CS20, after I clean and dried them, I clean them first, put them in the solution. After 20 minutes, I rinse them, I dry them. After I dry them, I put them in the steri pouches, seal them, you date them, and they're not getting cross-contaminated with anything else, and they're ready to be used for a client. So you can still do that if you're using cold soaks, but they were meant originally to use in the autoclaves. Here's a little chart to put it all together. So if you are sterilizing, you're going to be, and that's going to be critical tools or critical devices, you're going to be using CS20, which is a chemosterilant. If you're going to high-level disinfectant, so it's your semi-critical tools or devices, which are your aesthetic tools, you'll be using your PREEMPT HLD5. When it comes to your surfaces, you're going to, non-critical devices, you're going to be using your PREEMPT RTU or concentrate, which are an intermediate level disinfectant. Okay. Selection of an ideal disinfectant. So the disinfectant, so how are you going to choose one? Well, the disinfectant product should effectively clean, So a lot of disinfectants out there cannot do what RTU does. RTU is both a cleaner and disinfectant. So on a small soil load, you can spray the RTU. You can wipe down first with a dry paper towel, wipe down, right? And then remove any small soil too. But then you will spray directly right away, and that will clean and disinfect. You leave it for 3 minutes. There's no need to grab some soap or water and clean the surface first with soap and water, and then use your RTU. The RTU will clean and disinfect in one step. Okay, but remember, on a small soil load, if the soil load, whatever surface you're cleaning is great, you will have to clean with soap and water before. The disinfectant product should kill relevant microorganisms. So we needed to be able to kill those microorganisms, and the label should be telling you that. But if the label does not have uh, as the next bullet says, be Health Canada registered. If it doesn't have a DIN number, as you notice, our RTU, and we'll go through that, our RTU has a DIN number, a drug identification number, and this assures you that it's been given to a third party, it's been tested, it's been given back, and it's been approved by Health Canada that our RTU disinfectant is efficacy against virucidal, bactericidal, fungicidal, tuberculocidal. Okay, and that way you know that its claims are true. If they have these claims and don't have any of the Health Canada registrations or approval, there's where do you put the trust? Okay, and this is something you're using for your health and safety of your customers as well. They should have a fast and realistic contact time. We don't want to be sitting there for 10 minutes contact time if we need to get to our customer and factoring in 10 minutes into our schedule for cleaning disinfecting. It's pretty long for contact times. And alcohol is 10 minutes. So if a lot of you like using alcohol to clean and disinfect, to disinfect because it doesn't clean, it takes 10 minutes and it evaporates. So if you're spraying your surface or you're spraying or you're immersing your tools, you got to make sure that that solution it's evaporating, especially when you're doing it on the surface. In 23 seconds, we have a video that it evaporates and you got to go back and reapply. So imagine how many times in that 10 minutes you have to go back and reapply on that surface. It's ideally not. It's almost, you can say, a waste of time because you can be productive in somewhere else during that 10 minutes. So our 3 minutes contact time is awesome, stays wet. If you have to go reapply, it only is one time. You wouldn't have to go back so many different times. It has to be non-toxic. We don't want it to be irritating us. We don't want it to be irritating your clients as well. We don't want to have any VOCs that are going to affect our respiratory system. And we don't also want it to be harming us on our skin or stuff like that. You have to be wearing aprons. You have to be wearing goggles. You have to be wearing gloves when you're handling the disinfectants. Also, be compatible. Is it safe for your tools and your equipment? Is it going to be rusting them? Now, if you're going to say that you've seen rusting of yours with Preempt, three things. First reason, are you putting them in wet into the solution? If you're putting them in wet, for sure you will start to see rusting. Second reason, are you leaving your tools in the solution for past the contact time and overnight? I hear a lot of people tell me, well, I'll leave it overnight because it gives me that security and I'm fine. No, after the 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever the contact time is, you've achieved the efficacy of what it needs to do for your viruses, for your fungicides, for your tuberculosides. So there's no point in leaving it longer. You are risking compromising your tools. And then third reason is your stainless steel tools, there's different grades of metal. So if you're buying a cheaper grade, then of course it's going to rust as opposed to having a higher grade metal. I have my higher grade metals from school that I went to 2000, and even though I use CS20 all the time, my tools have not been compromised. Okay. And then be eco-friendly. We want it to be able to be environmentally friendly. And if you're pouring it down the drain, which a lot of solutions we do pour down the drain, but some solutions demand by Health Canada, what do you call it again? It has to be disposed according to how they tell you to dispose it, or it has to have special disposal or picked up and disposed somewhere. So imagine how harsh that disinfectant is to be doing that, as opposed to Preempt disinfectants. They break down to water and oxygen and then into the water, and you don't damage any aquatic life. Okay, so very important to look at that. Why is cleaning important? We already mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, but we know that cleaning reduces or eliminates the reservoirs of potential pathogenic organisms. So that's why it's important to do that. Cleaning also, we had mentioned that it prepares for disinfection. So you can use mechanical scrubbing with water detergent, or they have, manual, or they have mechanical, which is your ultrasonic. Okay, so you have to put a detergent inside your ultrasonic and it spins and it can knock off all those bits and pieces on the tools. And it says can physically remove 99 to 99.9% of organisms on a surface. What is a one-step cleaner? As I mentioned before, are RTU liquid or wipes. They clean and disinfect in the same one step. So it says one-step disinfectant cleaner has been tested in a soil load and maintains its ability to kill pathogens. And as I mentioned before, it was on a small soil that when you do spray it, you can go right away with the contact time of 3 minutes and no need to do two different separate steps. Okay, now it says down there does not mean you don't need to clean before disinfection, meaning wipe it down with a dry paper towel on a small soil load. If the soil load is great, I would clean with soap and water. So what I would do is spray first, because our RTU can work as a cleaner. I would spray it first and do my scrubbing action for 30 seconds, wipe it down, dry it, and then spray again to leave the contact time. Okay. A professional versus household product. So how do you distinguish? Should I use my professional? Well, your professional disinfectants, if they're meeting Health Canada Authority guidelines, they should have a DIN registered number or a medical device license number. And it should have efficacy claims on the following. So bactericidal, virucidal, fungicidal, somudicidal, tuberculocidal, and bloodborne claims like HIV-1. So these should be claims that you should see on your label, but with a DIN number or a medical device number. We're going to go through that. What is a DIN number? So we know a DIN number is a drug identification number, and you've seen it all this time that you've been purchasing PREEMPT on our RTU. It was on all our products. But so this, as I mentioned, when it's been given to third party to test it, this is the approval from Health Canada that this product, disinfectant, what claims it has, it's actually accurate to those claims and its efficacy. But when we go to the medical device number, this is something new that's happened. So your high-level disinfectants, like your HLD5, and your chemosterilant, your chemical sterilant solutions, like your CS20, these now have a medical device license number. If you buy a product that says it's a high-level disinfectant or a chemosterilant, and they don't have a medical device license, we were told that that means they are not a disinfectant or a chemosterilant. So you would be questioning using that. Don't use it. Get something that has the DIN number and the medical device number. Okay. What is contact time? We already talked about this as well, but we know the severity of it. So to disinfect, solution must remain wet on the surface for the entire contact time as per the label instructions. So whichever one you're using, if you're using our HLD5, which is called high level disinfectant, and the 5 means 5 minutes, you have to make sure that your tools are fully immersed into that solution, every single tool, and is fully wet for 5 minutes. Your surfaces, you got to spray them where you see every part of the surface is covered and sprayed, and then leave it and wet, and leave it for 3 minutes. So don't go wipe it right away off. You won't achieve anything, and don't dip your tools and take them off before 5 minutes or 20 minutes, as you have done nothing. Okay. This little video here, let's see if you're able to see it. Oh. As I mentioned, it's just showing that if you're using alcohol, it evaporates extremely fast. So on the left side, it's a HP technology. On the right side, it's an alcohol type of disinfectant. So we've covered the whole surface, but watch the timer. And already the corners on product B are evaporating. And as soon as it reached 23 seconds, completely evaporated. And that's alcohol for you. So it's not that you can't use alcohol, you can use it, but are you going to sit on that surface for 10 minutes and wait and reapply all the time? Are you going to remember to come back and check to see that's not wet and reapply? Okay, so this visual lets you see how true it is to uh, contact time, how important it is, and understanding what disinfectant you're using. Disinfectant should be non-toxic, non-irritating, safe for the user, safe for your staff, safe for your client, as they can, if it's inhaled, you want it to be safe, and environmentally friendly. And with Preempt, you're getting all that. It's non-toxic, non-irritating. It's going to be safe for you. It's going to be safe for the environment as well. These are little pictograms of the type of pictures that you might see for handling your disinfectant. So on your bottles, if you see any of these pictograms, you might have to question, is this product really good? If there's more than one, what's happening with this product that I'm using? Is it going to affect my respiratory system? Because it has so many of these, like for example, the one that says health hazards may cause or suspect of causing serious health effects, which can be occupational asthma as well that you can get from a lot of these volatile disinfectants. So our products don't have any of these pictograms except the one, which is a CS20, because the HP level is the greatest in there. It's 8%, which needs to be high and able to kill your spores. So it has the corrosive, meaning that don't put your hands in there. I've done it with my hands. I just go and rinse it with cool water right away. But you wouldn't want to do that. First of all, you wouldn't want to put your hands in the solution without gloves, and second of all, you wouldn't want to put your hands with the gloves into the solution because you're going to inactivate it. You're going to cross contaminate it. So use disinfecting tongs to remove, or your soaker tray will have a lifting tray that you can bring into the sink where you can rinse them, and then that soaker tray has to be dried before you put it back in. So very important to look at this. And you have SDS sheets. These SDS sheets, you should have a binder, and they're mandatory to have them in your salon because it actually mentions the handling. How do you handle this disinfectant? What safety gear do you have to wear? What happens in case of ingestion or it gets into the eye or this or that? So these SDS sheets have to be at all times on site. Okay. Reviewing disinfectant chemistry. So here, this report card, it's very nice for you as well when you're doing your research to see what disinfectant or what's the chemistry of the disinfectant I'm buying, if it's not Preempt. But if so you have your chlorine, you have your quats, you have your phenols. So your quats would be like your barbicide, you have your phenols, you have your alcohol, and then you have your HP, which is your Preempt products, and you have your stars. And as you can see, accelerated hydrogen peroxide beats out all the other disinfectants, these other chemistries. And when it comes to speed of disinfection, cleaning efficacy, environmental profile, safety profile. So it's something to take into consideration when you're choosing your disinfectant. Now we're going into introduction to Preempt disinfectant. So here's our Preempt family for surfaces, foot baths, and tools. That's how we break it down. Making the right choice. Well, Preempt is the only disinfectant powered by accelerated hydrogen peroxide for professional beauty establishments, and is formulated with you in mind, as in being in the beauty industry. It's safer, as we mentioned, so it's becoming repetitive. It's safer, it's non-toxic and biodegradable, it's eco-friendly, it breaks down to water and oxygen, it's compliant, gets you inspection ready, it's fast, disinfects in as little as 3 minutes. Maybe something like this is something you might want to post, because the new norm would be as well to clean and disinfect in front of your clients. Also to have visible your disinfectant in front of your clients to see what you're using. So maybe putting posts up on your wall, something like this, a signage or something like this would be nice for your customers to be educated to know that, yeah, you're taking their safety in mind and you're thinking of them. Okay. And that way it makes it also easier for them to come in, because a lot of your clients will be hesitant to come in, either of the fear that was implemented. Just they need to be reassured. Okay. And that's your job. Once again, this is repetitive, as in where you're using your preempt, your for your surfaces, for your RTU preempt, you're using it for your surfaces and your foot baths, and then for your HLD5 and your CS20, you're using it for your nail and aesthetic tools. What is accelerated hydrogen peroxide? So what is that ingredient? It's a globally patented blend of surfactants that when combined with hydrogen peroxide, it results in superior disinfecting and cleaning performances. So, and once again, it's becoming redundant, but it's just a reminder that it's safe for users because it's non-toxic, doesn't irritate your eyes. You don't have any, like, there's no smell to it that can irritate, doesn't emit these VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds. Safe for the planet because it's breaking down to water and oxygen. So you have easy, carefree disposal and not some special type of disposal or pickup. It's also good for if you have septic tanks, as long as you dilute it down to the drain with some water, you're fine for your septic tanks as well. And fast acting kills germs up to 10 times faster. So preempt product benefits and how to use. Just please, I didn't take out of this slide the wash, but the wash has been discontinued, which means you can use whichever detergent you choose to use to clean your tools before, or you can use, excuse me, the concentrate, the preempt concentrate. Now we're going to go to our first section, which is our surfaces. You're going to use either the liquid or the wipes. Here we have first the picture of your RTU liquid in a 1 liter. It also comes in a 4 liter. Its key features that in 3 minutes, your claims for virucidal, bactericidal, tuberculocidal, and fungicidal. And then its ideal use is for your manicure tables, your stainless steel bowls, your work tables and chairs, your non-circulating foot baths, your reception area, your retail area, your doorknobs, your LED lights on your manicure tables, your lamps, the list goes on. Okay, so this is what you'll use. Your wipes are obviously, they're a little bit faster, simple and faster. You just grab them out of the container and start using them right away instead of having to spray. Some people might be a little bit concerned when they spray, the vibration of the spray, like it squirts, it's higher, it doesn't land directly onto the table. So they might feel that it might linger in the air, the sprays. You can purchase trigger sprayers, foam sprayers, sorry, that will make the solution come out in foam if you're not using the wipes. But it shouldn't affect your clients. But the wipes are just more faster. They're a little bit more expensive. So if you're reaching bigger surfaces to clean and disinfect, the preempt liquid will be a little bit better. So the key features are the same, exactly the same as the liquid. And here are your steps. So step 1, you're going to remove your dirt and debris from the surface. Then you spray right away your RTU because it's going to be your one-step cleaner and disinfectant, or you're going to use your wipe to saturate the surface. And then you're going to leave the contact time of 3 minutes, and then you can either allow it to air dry, or you can, with a new paper towel, excuse me, you can clean any areas that were still damp or wet. Your non-circulating foot baths, you're using the same products because it's a non-circulating. You don't have to use our diluted concentrate in there. It doesn't have an extra plumbing system. These ones are either you're using them in the jet, the non-circulating foot baths that have jets, or even your stainless steel bowls, your footsies. They have these footsie tubs. Anything else that's not circulated and you're using it for foot baths. So you're going to drain the basin and remove any visible debris. Then you're going to clean basin with a clean brush and detergent, or use preempt RTU or wipes. And then you're going to rinse and drain. After that, you're going to disinfect the basin with your preempt, either your liquid, your RTU liquid, or wipes, and ensuring the surface remains wet for 3 minutes. Step 4 would be to drain and rinse with clean water, and it's able to refill it back up, to refill with water for your next client. Circulating foot baths, this is where you're going to use your concentrate because this is where you're going to get your biofilms, your big accumulation of biofilm in those plumbing system, in those pipes. So your key features, it's concentrated, so you have to have the ratio of 1 to 40 to disinfect. Its claims are in 5 minutes for virucidal, bactericidal, tuberculocidal, and fungicidal. So 5 minutes is not bad either. It's pretty quick. superior cleaning capability. So same like your RTU, it can clean as well as disinfect. So if you're having a hard time buying RTU right now at the distributor, if they have concentrate, purchase concentrate because you can dilute that, excuse me, at 1 to 40. You can dilute it and you can use that to clean your surfaces as well. Okay, so don't fear if they do have concentrate, they don't have RTU, purchase the concentrate instead. How to clean circulating foot baths, remove visible debris using detergent and water. Then you fill the basin with water to the jet line. Add the PREEMPT concentrate to make a 1 to 40 dilution and then add it to the basin. Once it's added, you're going to allow the foot bath to circulate for 30 seconds. Once that 30 seconds is done, you turn off the jets and let the solution sit there because it's going to break down whatever bacteria, whatever that biofilm has, how much of it is formed. Step forward would be to drain the foot bath and refill with clean water, circulate just to remove any other debris that might be in there from breaking it down, and then rinse for 30 seconds and drain. For tools, once again, take out the wash. I didn't take it out, so don't mind the wash. We're going to skip the wash. You can use, as I mentioned, the concentrate at a 1 to 128 ratio to clean your tools or any detergent that you're using, okay? For HLD5, as you can see in the name, it says high level disinfection for 5 minutes. Key attributes, it's 14-day reuse. So it's economical. You don't have to be draining it out, disposing it out every single day. It's a high level disinfectant for hard metals and hard plastics. So make sure for that. It's ready to use, no need to dilute. Okay, ideal use is your aesthetic instruments and tools such as your nail clippers, cuticle pushers, tweezers, and so forth. Your CS20, as we mentioned, it's a chemosterilant. So it's a chemical sterilant. So it works, it will be what you would use as an autoclave, but instead you're going to be using it in a liquid form. Just make sure that once you remove it from the container after it's been there for 20 minutes, try to put it somewhere right away in a clean and disinfected container or sterile pouches, because as soon as you take it out, it's been exposed and it's no longer sterile. So we don't want to get it cross-contaminated. So your key attributes, once again, like the HLD5, it's 14-day reuse. And very, very, very important is, I would suggest if when you reopen or if you are reopened, buy test strips. And you would need to buy test strips for whatever 3 products you're using. If you're using HLD5, CS20, or concentrate. So your test strips for HLD5 and CS20 will let you know that it can reach the 14 days to reuse. And if, say, you put your test strip in there and it's a half-day mark, 7-day, and it shows that the solution is no longer activated, that means you need to get back to your staff, have a meeting or whichever way, or put up protocols and let them know that they're doing something to compromise the solution. Either they're putting in their tools wet or they're putting in their tools dirty. So having, once again, that infection control specialist, they could be going around doing these tests and finding out for the owner and giving some structure. Okay. Having even log charts are helpful too, to know when it was checked with your test strips. Microblading, your permanent eye makeup, anything like that, you know that there are disposable microblading tools like the ones in the picture, or you have the ones that are reprocessed handles. And I would put these right away in CS20, not even HLD5. I would put them right away, go above the bar for safety, and put them into CS20 because you are exposing the skin to it's open skin. You're not working with intact skin as you're doing cuts into the skin. Okay. And how to clean and disinfect. So once again, clean your instruments with any detergent that you have or the concentrate. So I got to remove the wash, or use an ultrasonic cleaner. So if you have an ultrasonic cleaner, you pour in the detergent in there and then you circulate it for the amount of time, the 30 seconds, to break down and the pathogens, the debris onto your tools. Step 2, rinse with water and dry thoroughly. Very important to dry thoroughly. And then fully immerse them into your HLD5 or your CS20. And then after the time is up of the 5 or 20 minutes, then you're going to rinse the tools. If you can either air dry them or dry them manually, but very important, put them in these bins that are marked as disinfectant. And maybe it's advisable too to have in front of your client to see visible these bins. You see one that says contaminated and one that says disinfected, and you work out of them. So if you're going to sit your customer down and go work on your customer, you're going to pull out of the disinfected container so that they can see that. And then when you're done with the tools, they can see that you're putting them in the soiled container, and that they're going to be handled by either the infection control specialist, or that they're going to be cleaned and disinfected before they get put into the disinfected container. Okay, so make this visible to your clients and educate your clients as well. And that's it. That's it for the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see your questions. Give me 1 second. If you have any questions. Oh, someone says slides were frozen. Sorry, I couldn't see your question, so I hopefully it worked back for you. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to reload your screen again if it freezes. So let's answer some questions. So thank you, Candice. I'm sorry for anybody if you had any issues. This is recorded, so I can send the recording to you as well. Where the test strips are available. So Arvela, you're located closer to Orangeville, I believe, right? So your local distributor that you're usually ordering through, but I'm sure Intercosmetics should have these, Nails R Us should have these, but we're gonna do as a master distributor, we're going to send it out a letter to all the distributors to bring in these test strips because they are very important for them to carry, because you as the end user, as the salon and spa, you're going to need these. You're for sure going to need these, especially in these time. So I will find for you, Arvella, and see, but at the time now, maybe a lot of them might not have them because of what we were going through and they weren't functioning fully. But now that they're picking up the distributorships and they're starting to reorder their amount that they should be ordering, they're going to start ordering the test strips as well. Okay, so that's good. One question from Guyane. Sarah, thank you, Sarah, for the feedback. So, did I understand right? We can use the concentrate in the ultrasonic device. Yes, it's considered as a cleaner. So you can mix it in there at a 1 to 128 ratio. So it can be used as a cleaner as well. I do see Spanish. Donde puedo conseguirlo? I'm wondering if that Diana, are you asking in Spanish where to purchase the product? Rachel, work great. Thank you. Awesome. Betty, why do some health departments want CS20 and not HLD5? Because it's a chemosterilant, so it kills everything. So it's just you're being above the bar. It's the best, right? So what I always suggest is carry both. Have HLD5 and have CS20, because sometimes if you're going to pick up and you're busy, well, now you should be factoring in you should be staggering your appointments. You shouldn't be overbooking. But the 5 minutes, if you didn't come in contact with open skin, the 5 minutes of the high level disinfectant is just as effective, right? Because in your Health Canada, it says using a high level disinfectant on your semi-critical tools. But if you started to come intact with non-intact skin, open skin, it's nice to be able to kill everything, any spores that you're coming in contact. So it's good to use a CS20. So if your health inspector suggests CS20, I would suggest carry both. They can't say carry one or the other because under the Health Canada guidelines, you are using a high level disinfectant, so you're fine. It's just a preference that they suggest. As long, Betty, as long as you're telling them the proper steps on how you're using it and on what tools you're using it, they should be fine with both. Please send a recording. I would appreciate it. Yes, it's coming. The recording comes automatically after this webinar as a thank you. It's a thank you email. You should have it in there. If it's not in there, it has to be there. I linked it that way. If you're having any issues, my email Education. I'm going to type it down here. Education. Oh, I hope that popped. Let me just go lower. There's more questions. So where can I get the SES sheets? So Angelica, your distributor should be able to provide them, but since you have my email now below, send me an email and I'll send them to you. Yamima, would you use HLD5 for lash tweezers or just CS20? So lash tweezers, I don't put them as critical and I don't put them as semi-critical, although maybe under health inspections they will fall under semi-critical because of the stainless steel. But you're not doing anything to come in contact with skin or not meaning um, open skin. So using HLD5, you're fine. I wouldn't put it in CS20 unless you're putting other tools from pedicures and manicures and you want to put them all together. Then fine, it's okay in CS20 as long as they're high grade metal, stainless steel, and you're leaving them for 20 minutes. Okay. But you can use HLD5 if you wanted to. If you're predominantly doing a lot of lash treatments, I would just do an HLD5 because 5 minutes, you can get that tweezer back in no time as you prep your next customer. Natalie, sorry, can you say again why it is not a good idea to give the reusable tools to the clients to take home? Oh, if they're going to take home, fine, but they can't bring that back into your salon to reuse on them as well. So you should factor in a fee, either $2, I don't know how much, whatever it would cost you to buy the bulk that you're buying of your buffers and your nail file. But I would factor into my pricing. So if my pedicures are $28, well now they're 30 because these tools you can take them home with you. But they can't bring them back for you to redo the surface because the service because as Health Canada has mentioned, they are single use and they have to be thrown away. If it comes to attention that you're reusing these tools, even on the same customer of the ones it belongs to, you can get an infraction. Bacteria can still form. I can still contaminate that customer if you cut them or do anything and they have open exposed skin. Thank you. Ala, thank you. It was very informative. I would like a copy of the recording as well. Yep, you will get it at the end. The certificates will just come separately. Okay. I would love to have the photos. Are they available for us? So you can grab them off of the website. I'm going to write that down. Virox. Let me write that down here for you. Virox ProBeauty.com. Okay, you can get pictures off of there to use and post. If you're having a hard time, by all means, you have my email, education@CBN Group, and I can help you. Test strips and SCS sheets would be very helpful. So test strips, check in with your local distributor. If they don't have it, please inquire that they bring it. That would help us as well to get it out there because they need to be bringing these in and they can do special order for you. So check with your distributor and let them know that for my training, these I'm going to need them and they're not going to hesitate to bring it in for you. Okay. We got some more questions. The proportion, let me just see if I didn't miss. Yes, Sarah, Nails R Us does have test strips. They should, and they do place orders often. This was amazing. Would I be able to get the recording? Yes, you're good. I'm trying to answer everybody's questions before anybody leaves. SGSGs, we already mentioned that. Thank you. The recording, we mentioned that. Can you repeat the proportion? So for which product? Because for your concentrate, if you're going to use it as a cleaner, 1 to 128. So 1 to 128 or 1 to 40 for your disinfection. Gina, with the CS20, should I rinse it with water after the tools is in the pre? Yes. So after your 20 minutes is over, you should take your tray to the sink, lift the tray out, and then rinse them very well, and then dry them. You have to rinse the solution off, or else it stays on there and can rust them. I still have the wash, so I can't. Oh, no, you can use it. Sabrina, still use the wash. They just discontinued it. I was really sad when they discontinued it because I do love the wash. It's a bacteriostatic. It didn't leave any oil residue because some dish soaps can be a little bit oily, or like a little bit thicker. So you got to make sure that you've rinsed your tools properly. But if you have wash, yes, use it. Use it in your ultrasonic cleaner as well. So SDS sheets are on the website, Virox Pro Beauty. They're all there. And please go to that website if you haven't, viroxprobeauty.com, because they have amazing marketing material that you can even download. For example, there's one on the RTU and coronaviruses. You should post that up on your salon to let your customers know that your disinfectant is Health Canada approved to kill coronaviruses. Okay. Chris, I tried the test strips, but they didn't seem to work properly. I opened a brand new bottle, HLD5, and tested, and the strips indicated it wasn't effective. Have you checked to make sure they do expire very fast? So beware of that. They expire extremely fast, and we lowered the price for them. Are you sure that the solution wasn't affected because of improper use? Was it only you using it, or did you have a staff team using it? You got to check that into effect. I can also send you, or they're online, but you should download the protocols for test strips just to make sure that they're being used effectively. I didn't have anybody let me know that they don't work. So just make sure that the expiring date is okay as well. Rachel, I have CS20 left in my bottle that has expired since lockdown. Is it usable within a certain amount of time, or do we need to dispose of it right away? Originally, before, I would say, okay, there's still some kind of efficacy in it. So if you still have potency in it. So if you had some test strips, I would test it. I would still say, sure, test it with test strips, but with what we're going through right now, you don't want to risk using expired product, especially if you don't have the test strips. So if you have a lot of the CS20, you want to make sure that you can still use it, maybe even just having it for 7 days instead of 14. I would not suggest you reuse it unless you have test strips. Okay, so check that. Tanya, the SDS sheets are on the website, Pro Beauty, Virox Pro Beauty, I put down there. If you didn't find them, just email me with the email that I have, okay? So then I can remember to assist you. Linda, thank you. Oh, thank you for your time as well. I'm happy that we were able to do this. Yamima, thank you so much. And Natalie, yeah, I totally understand your concern, Natalie. But then in that sense, maybe pick up some test strips and see that is still, as long as you had that lid tight, you should be good. Okay. But I don't want to give this information, especially meaning I don't want us to get laxed or because of what we're dealing with right now, right? So if you have those test strips handy, or if you can borrow one from another coworker or something like that, or test to see that the HLD5 or the CS20 is okay still, but I wouldn't use it for the full 14 days as it's become weaker after the expiring date. Okay. Let's see. Thank you. I love the wash. I know. Sorry, Candace. I loved it too. Yeah, so everybody who wants the SDS sheets, just please give me a reminder on my email, okay? Because it makes it kind of hard for me to go through all this chat to get it. But if you send me on my education one, I will for sure get back to you. So Angelica, I struggle with keeping my carbide bits from disintegrating. I have a timer that I use to make sure they don't stay in the water for longer than 20 minutes. I rinse after. I bought an autoclave because I couldn't stand only using. Okay, so you were having issues with the disinfectant. Did you try to use HLD5 instead? I know with the bits, the carb, sometimes you can nick the skin, but I'm wondering if the HLD5 would have been a little bit better. If you bought an autoclave, once again, just make sure that you're using it properly. Make sure you're doing the testings for it. And if they need to be enveloped, make sure is your autoclave your tools need to be all enveloped. Okay. I have several. Sorry, I have. Oh, perfect. Brittany found the link for your safety data sheets. But visit that website. I really want you guys to visit it because it's going to help you to get other information too for the coronaviruses and the COVID and stuff like that, and helping you to prepare for your business. I have several bottles of the RTU. They just expired. Are they now garbage? RTU is hard to test. Um, I can try and check with Virox and see what the potency would be. But once again, because we're dealing right now with COVID, I wouldn't suggest using an expired product, especially since we're very concerned with surfaces and having our surfaces cleaned every 1 to 2 hours, every high touch area. So I can check and see with Virox, but I think the best thing would be to buy a brand new one. I know it sucks. I know that it was the COVID didn't do us well at all this isolation time. But once again, you got to think of the safety of your client when you get back. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. I hope this has helped you. Angelica, okay, if you have a medical background, yes, a chemosterilant or your autoclave is the best bet. So keep using the autoclave then for your bits, okay? You're gonna get a certificate mailed out to you, so don't worry about that. And I have a request from everybody. Let me just type it in. If you're going to post up on social media your uh sorry, your certificate or make reference to this training or to myself. I only if you want to, I would love to be tagged into it because we'd like to share as well you on our Instagram. So mine is only if you wish. I'm going to give you my Instagram account. Give me 1 second. Only if you wish, but I just love to share. Social media is a powerful tool and it can help all of us and make an awareness and stuff like that. And I know people love posting their certificates up because it's giving awareness to your clients as well. But it's also letting us know the success that you're having with it and our support that we want to give you as well. So let me just go back a little bit up because I know I wanted to answer somebody else's question. If the client come with coughing, sneezing, can we refuse the client from coming in? Yes, you can. As you should be putting notes up onto your windows because you're still going to be doing social distancing. I don't know if you've already opened. I'm not quite sure where you are from. Um, Linda, what area you're from, but if you're in Ontario, we haven't opened yet, but you should make a sign that says if you have any symptoms of cough or a slight this or feeling sneezy or anything like that, people, all the businesses put a post up on their from the outside as well. So when they're lined up outside, they can see this. Um, that they can't come in. So yes, you can refuse them. A lot of the new norm would be even having your point and direct your thermometers, so you can actually test to see if they have a fever. A lot of it's not mandatory, but a lot of salons are going to be having this, and you're doing it outside and also avoiding having a waiting area. So the weather, thank goodness, is better now, but either they wait in the car or because you're going to be staggering your appointments, you're going to have one client at a time, or depending how big you are, if you're a hairstylist, you might have spread out your chairs. So if you have 6 chairs, you might only have 3 working stylist chairs because they're spread out for your 6 feet. But you should be taking these precautions and you should be putting signages up. Try to put as many signages as you can up of what you are taking as new measures so you can inform your customers. And before we open, if you're in Ontario, before you open, send an email out to all your customers of the new steps you're taking, of the new protocols you're taking, of what you're expecting of your clients, if they're going to come in with PPE or you're going to provide PPE for them. Even share that you have taken training so you know you're going to be using the disinfectants appropriately and are taking their health into consideration because you want your customers to be coming back in. Okay. Uh, your certificate, I'm going to mail it separately from your thank you email. So the thank you email you're going to be getting with the recording, and then I have to create the certificates with your name and the date, and I'm going to send them in the email. I'm going to email them to you so you can get them as faster. Okay. So I think Toronto, thank you, Smith. Thank you so much, Yamima. June 15th in Montreal. So very soon, Shelly, you'll be opening. So get those signages ready. Get those emails to your customer ready of what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be carrying, what are you expecting of them. Do that from now. And I will be putting up a recording on our YouTube channel, CBONN. I can type it in. of how to prepare yourself, what to prepare to for the salon, and what some of the new norms will be. So we'll give it about give it a day or two, and it should be up on our CBONN channel. So that can give you ideas of what you should do in your emails. Even to have signages that say this area has been cleaned and disinfected for you or stuff like that. So you can watch that webinar and it could help you. Most of our clients are open since June 1st, and the rest, Montreal area, are opening. Yes, I know some in Quebec have opened June, right? And Montreal area all opening 15th. Yes. Do you need a social distancing sign if you work from home? If you're working from home, you're most likely taking one customer at a time, but you're still going to implement your PPE. You're still going to implement your mask and your gloves. If you want a sneeze shield or a face shield, do not replace your face shield with a mask. You have to wear a mask and then your face shield. So you still have to take some precautions, but you're in a better area because you're only working one customer at a time. Okay. So I hope I answered that question for you, Barb. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Guyan. I know you sat in several, I think you sat in several, your name is familiar, of webinars. So I hope this has been able to help you a lot as well. And for everybody, very informative and refresh your memory. Exactly. Yes, and a solution to replace the wash. Exactly, because I was pretty disappointed. Where to get the tent cards? Shelly, so if anybody needs tent cards, you should be able to get them from your distributor. Check with your distributor first because they're going to be placing order on a lot more tent cards. If they don't have it in the meantime and you really need it, but check with them first. And then you can connect with me on my email at education@cbngroup.com and let me know if you were not able to get it from them. But it'd be easier to get it from your distributor. And only then if they don't have it, make aware to them that they need to bring it in and then reach out to me and we could get those out. Okay. Uh, does that cover different provinces? I'm in BC. Barb, are you talking about the webinar? So the webinar is in general because I had to talk to people who were in the US too. I didn't make it brand related. So I was talking to people in the US. So the protocols that are put in there are for everybody to help. Now, when your guidelines come out, when the new guidelines come out, check those because the guidelines might tell you to do this mandatory. These are suggested. So check your, oh, sorry, know the signage. Uh, which signage? The one that you have to put up on your wall. It's the ones that you're going to create about social distancing and what measures you've taken. You're going to create signs like this, or a sign that says, "We at Tranquility Spa are doing the following," and you put what you're doing, and then you're going to have to put that up on a wall for your clients to see. Is that the signage you're talking about? Because those are the ones that you're going to create. But in that webinar that I did, I gave suggestions of things you can say. Tent cards. What are tent cards? So tent cards basically are a little tent that folds and sticks up on a surface. Like you put it on a surface, you put it on a chair, you put it, whatever you cleaned and disinfected, you put it on top of there. And when your client comes, they see this piece of marketing tool and they understand that you cleaned and disinfected that area. So all the distributors should have these and they should have in their preempt section. Check with your distributor and also emailing me and letting me know if they don't have it because then we're going to push for them to bring it in because it makes it easier for you to get it from them, from the distributor. So if you can't find any, connect with me in my education email. Okay. So if there's not any more questions, I see Gina's writing one, so we'll wait for Gina. If there's not any more questions, I do appreciate your time as well. I'm very happy that I was able to do this. I've been very, very swamped with webinars because I also teach Reflecticil, so I also teach another brand, but I know the importance of infection control. So I hope that this has given you that confidence to go back to work. I know a lot had a little bit of a fear going back or they were confused, but you shouldn't be. We as estheticians, and it might be a little bit harder as hairstylists. So if there's any hairstylists in here, it might be a little bit harder for you because of the laxed that industry was in with infection control. But now it is much, it's very, very important. And a lot of hairstylists are not traumatized, but they're a little bit scared. So, but as estheticians, we've been doing this. This should not be anything different than what we were doing before. We're just going to have to heighten our protocols and strictly follow them and get them done after every customer. Okay. Gina, is there any specific container for the tools? Nope. It could be a plastic container, or it could be your steri pouches, or that you can put in a UV sterilizer. So these UV sterilizers, they don't sterilize, but they're an awesome place to place your disinfected tools. So you can use a plastic container, UV sterilizer, or in your steri pouches, but as long as that container does not get contaminated. Okay. So thank you everyone. I'm glad everything went well. And if you need to reach me for anything else, you have my email there. If it takes a little bit longer to get back to you, I'm sorry, because I do have overwhelming amount of emails coming in, flooding in, and I still haven't found somebody that can assist me in answering these because they need to be answered accurately when we're dealing with infection control. So be patient with myself as well, okay? But I want to reach everybody and help everybody, okay? Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best in your reopening, and have a wonderful weekend. I hope we have a good weather. Okay, thank you. You as well. Have a great weekend.